Hello, welcome to Professed and welcome to this first part of our training. If you are watching this video, it shows that you have already watched a presentation of this training and you have seen all what is required from us. The purpose of this first part is to show you how to design your Excel sheets and also how to use some basic Excel functions in order to produce great results. If you are here, it shows that you have equally received this same worksheet on which I am, and you realize that some other sheets were already designed except the level of sales invoice. So we are going to take this as sample to design and since what we are going to do here is the same with other sheets, we are not going to stress ourselves, we just do it here so you know how to do it in other places, and if you wish you can change all what is here to your liking. So we start. We come to C2 where there is the name of the company. We choose a good theme. We select the whole of this area and we give a particular fill color. Since the fill color will make what is written inside not to be visible, we change its color, and that is it. So we have to insert a logo. How do we insert a logo or anything in Excel? By going on insert. You want to insert a picture, it will direct you to your pictures file and you choose what you want to bring in. Actually, this is what I want to bring it, so I double click on it and it's going to come. Then I place it where I would like it to be. Okay, so this sales invoice here actually is where we are going to have our invoice number. Each time we will click on cell on the button we are going to create here, the invoice number is automatically going to change, but we are going to see that later. So let's first of all design it. We are going to put some borders here. We equally put a line, just line on the bottom, line on the bottom. So here we can decide and put a color. Since the writing is not visible, we put it in white, and we can equally decide and put something here like this. All just depend on you decide on what to do, and that is all. So we are equally going to give a color here and change it to white. Alright, okay, here is actually where we are going to give informations about what we are actually selling to a customer by giving the description, the item code, and all of this. So by default we are going to create a good list whereby we can easily insert or input our informations. I'm going to take this as an advantage to show you how to insert lines in Excel. So we select this area. Okay, we want to insert lines in this particular area, so we select the area from the left this way. When we want to insert rows, we right click when we have selected and we say insert. You see it is actually going to insert lines. Since what was up had colors, it would just do the way it is, but we are going to remove all of this. We don't need this. We are going to remove this, no fill, and also resize this. We select all, and yes, I love this way. You can do it in your own way. So now we are going to create a table. Tables in Excel are easy to manipulate because with tables, when you type something inside in a table, it is automatically done in the rest of the columns and rows, and I usually use tables. So I'm going to select this area and insert a table. So I select the area, I go to insert, and I choose table. They are going to ask me, do my table has headers? Yes, actually my table already have headers. If I do not check this, it is going to create other headers for me and bring these informations down. But I check it and I say, okay, you see, this is a table. You can actually work or move in the table using the tab key. So let's see, you see it will not cross this area. As I'm pressing the tab key, it will not cross this area. You can decide and remove these colors which are inside. You click on no fill. If it does not accept, we are going to take it here. On design, you can decide on whether on the type of design you would like it to have. So I'm going to allow it with this one. Okay, so now I can equally remove these arrows which are showing here. These arrows are used to filter maybe the informations which are in the list directly. So to remove these filters, I just click on it, I come on design, then I say filter button, I uncheck it, it is going to go. Now we want to insert a column, a row here, which is going to give us a total of what is going to be here automatically. So we come on design, we come on total row, and I click total row. A total row is actually going to appear. So here we can choose what we want the total whole row to do. We want it to make a sum, and we want to say here total. Okay, now the next thing we are going to do is to start using Excel functions. Basically that is all about designing is just mainly in the home screen. You do anything you want to do. Then I've forgotten the means of payment. I put any color of my choice, and then here is where we are actually going to put the means of payment. Okay, now we have to put the customer's address. We want that each time we want to sell, we can choose the customer to whom we are selling, and to do that we have to create a selection list here where we can choose the customer in question. But yet this sheet does not have a list of customers, so there's a sheet that I created already for customers where you have to give all these informations about the customer, and from this list, in our invoice, in our sales invoice, we are going to choose the customer in question, and the informations of the customer are going to appear here automatically. So how do we go about it? We start by creating customers. So let me create one customer and show you what I'm going to do next. So once I have created maybe one line of my customers, if it is your own company, you can create as many customers as you want, depending on your customers in question. But for this exercise, we are going to create content, just put a lot of data. So we want to use an autofill function. In Excel, we call this autofill function. When you select the area, you come at this end here until it shows this black cross. You click on it and drag. See what has happened? It has automatically created many things at a time. You see address 1 up to 14. It has given different phone numbers, like things which can vary. It has varied it. So now we want these customers' names to be found here, meaning where we can select the customers in question. So we come here and we select this zone of customers. Before doing this, we'll first of all convert this data into a table. We select, we come to tables, and we will let it be a table. I love tables because that when you use it, there is a lot of advantages that you have. So I'm going to select the names of my customer and name it to be customers. When I finish typing the name of this list, of this area that I have selected, I press enter, and basically I have already named this column, sorry, to be customers. Anytime I can add a customer by pressing tab in this list, and it's going to create a new line for me to input the customers. And each time I'm going to add something here, it is going to enter in my list of customers. This is where we name cells in Excel. So I come back to my sales invoice. I want those customers that I created here to figure out here. So what do? I go to data, I go to data validation, I choose list, and for I already created the name of the data. I could equally come here on the source, come in customers, and select this customer column. But since I already created a name called customers, when I am here, I press F3 and the names in Excel are going to appear. I press F3, all the names which are being created in Excel appears here. So I just choose, first of all, I've been creating so many names. Maybe in your own sheet you are not going to have all of these except the customer that you created here, meaning when you selected, you wrote here inside and you press enter, it is actually going to figure out here. So I double click on customer and I say okay. Now you will see this cell already have a drop down arrow which is going to show all the customers. Now I want that as I choose a customer like this, the informations of this particular customer should appear here. That is where we are going to start using the Vlookup formula. The Vlookup formula allows us to look up to a particular value in a particular table array and bring the informations from the table array to the area we are calling for the information. So we say equals to Vlookup lookup value. Which value are we looking up to? We are looking up to this customer. When I'm done with that information, I press comma. The table array, where is the information located? I come on customer. The informations are located in this table. When I choose the table, I put my comma. The column index number, here we are looking for address. So here the address is found in which column number? In column 1, 2. It is found in column 2. So in this table, it is found in it is found in column 2. I put comma. I want the result to be exact, so I put 0. I close bracket and I enter. You see, automatically it is going to look for the address of customer 10, and if you look from here, you actually see that customer 10's address is address 10. So now what I have to do is to copy this formula, or what I can do is I use my autofill to bring the formula down. You see the formula is now here, but you realize that there's an error. there's an error. Why? Because one, we said from here that we were looking up to G7 and this is G7. Now when we use autofill function, it is going to go down, it is going to move this formula downward and looking instead up to G8, which is address 10. This is not actually what we want to look up to. We want to look up to G7. So when you use autofill and there are some values you want them to be constant, or some cells you want them to be constant, you come in your formula and you type there, you put the dollar sign in front and behind of the letter. To easily put the dollar sign, you can press F4 on your keyboard. When you press F4, it is automatically going to put the dollar sign. So we press enter and we drag it down. Now you see that it is at the level of telephone, it is still looking up to the customer address and still bringing the address at the level of telephone and email, but that's not what we want to do. We want to bring the telephone number and the address. Now the telephone number is found in which column? 1 2 3 4 5 6, in column 6. So I come here in this our formula, we change this 2 to 6, enter, and we change the email is column 7, we enter. You see he has looked up to this customer's name and he has given the information required. Now see something, should in case there is no information at the level of the customer's name, we are going to have there something not really good to see, error message. So how do we go about it? How do we remove these error messages? By using the if error function in Excel. The if error function is a function which allows us to maybe ignore or give an empty space should in case we have an error in our formula. So we go to if error, stand in front of our formula and say if error. Now this is the value. The value is all of this function. Then what do we want our if error formula to do should in case this value or this calculation has an error? We put comma, we say nothing. So should in case there is an error in this value or in this function that we have made, nothing should appear here. Instead of this error message, nothing should appear. So nothing is being denoted by inverted commas open and close. So you put inverted commas open and close, you close your bracket, enter. You realize that you drag it down, the error messages will no more appear. But when you choose the customer, there was an error. I used the autofill function which was not actually correct. No, I don't want this. Yes, I was at this level, so I'll also put the if error here. So now when I choose the customer, all the informations are there. When I delete this level, no problem or no error message is going to appear. So that is how it is. Same thing here. We want that each time we choose maybe an item, the item code can appear automatically. The unit price of that item should also appear automatically. So on this description is actually where we are going to be putting the items. So in this list, only two things can be will be chosen, like the item in question and the quantity. Then the unit price will appear automatically. the item code should appear automatically, the number should appear automatically, and the total amount should appear automatically. So we don't yet have the items, and in this sheet I've made the items appear at the level of data here, where you are going to put the item code, the unit selling price, the unit purchase price, the minimum stock, and the initial stock. You can create your own items the way you want. Get to you in some few minutes. Time for me to create my own items. Okay, for me this is what I have. You can equally do anything of your choice, or if you like you can use this same informations. So now let's come back to our sales invoice. We want these items here to appear here in the form of a drop down arrow, just like we did at the level of these customers. So we start by creating the name of these items. So before that, let's make this thing to be in a table. I love using tables because it's simple. So when I stand here, I want to name, okay, I've already named it already. You can choose this. You come here, you double click, you write what you want to write there, and you press enter. It is going to name this list as items. So we come back to our sales invoice. We stand where we want the drop down arrow to appear. We come on data, we choose data validation, we choose list, we come here, we press F3, and we look for what we created, items. Double click on it, then okay, you see the drop down arrow has appeared. Now I would like this drop down arrow to be in the whole of this area. So what do? I come on in this cell and I use my autofill. I come and I drag down. So now the drop down arrow is there. No problem, the drop down arrow is there. Now I have a problem with this list. You see it's a little bit blur. I'm going to change this design. And maybe make it to have complete black color. Okay, then this way. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like everywhere the list is there. So I delete this. Now the next thing I would like to do is to actually make in such a way that each time I choose the item code should automatically appear, and the unit price should automatically appear from where? From these informations we created already. This is the item code, and these are the unit selling price. We want these information to automatically come and appear here. So we are going to use the same if Vlookup function that we use here to do this. So we start by putting Vlookup, but before putting the Vlookup we are going to use the if error. No, anyhow, let's start with the Vlookup. We are looking up to these items, this description, right? And the table array, where are we looking at this data? We're looking these informations in the sheet called data, in this area. This area is actually called table 9. That's why I love using tables. Had it been we did not use table, we have had to use a wider range of data, meaning going like down, in order to be sure that should in case we are adding data, it should enter in the list we are talking about. But when I use tables, anytime I add data in this table, it is automatically going to enter in our database or in our formula we are writing now. So it is important to use tables. So in table 9, what are we looking for? We are looking for the item code. The item code is found in the second column, so we choose second column, and we want an exact answer. To have exact answer, we choose 0, we close our bracket, and we press enter. So as you can see, when I choose an item, the item code automatically appear. Now you see, when I'm in a table, when I put a function in one when I put a formula in one cell, it automatically enters in the other cells without me using the autofill function. But you see some error messages are appearing here. So how do we remove the error messages? By putting the if error function. If there's an error, better allow it the way it is, enter. We don't have error messages anymore. We want to do the same thing here at the level of unit price. So I'll just have to copy this function by pressing Ctrl plus C. Then I come and I paste it here by using Ctrl V. But I don't want it to show me the item column. I want it to show the unit selling price. The unit selling price is found in which column? 1, 2, 3, in the third column. So I come here, I edit this to the third column, and I press enter. You see, each time I choose an item, the item code and the unit selling price is going to appear automatically. So to delete, I just delete at the level of descriptions, and these informations are gone. You see how easy it is. Now I want that when I choose an item and I put the quantity, the amount should automatically be calculated. So what do? I say equals to the quantity times, equals to the quantity times the unit selling price. Then I press enter. It has calculated, but there are error messages. The error messages here comes because there is no value here. So in case there is a value, there will be no problem. But when there is no value, it will show an error message. So to remove error message, we use the if error. If there's an error, nothing should happen. And that is it. We can see here it will automatically calculate the total just the way we wanted it to be. Now we want that each time there is something here, it should be counting as from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meaning if there is something in these other columns, here should be counted as 1, 2. If there is nothing here, nothing should happen. So how can we count the number of lines, in which we are? So we are using rows, right? This is a row, this is a column. We want to count the number of row, the row number where we are located. So equals to row. Now if we just say row, what is going to happen is that it is going to give us the row number. In this cell, we are in row number 14, row number 15, row number 16, row number 17. But here we are still on item number 1, item number 2. So how do we go about it? Now what we are going to do is that we are going to count the number of rows before the area where we are located. How many rows are there? 13 rows. So what I do is that to have here this row to be 1, given that all of this area up is not included, I want to start counting from row 14 to be 1 and going downward. So I'm going to do the row number, which is 14, minus the number of rows which are not included, which is 13. You see, he has actually done 14 minus 13. Here he has done 15 minus 13. Here he has done 17 minus 13, and it is giving us this kind of beautiful stuffs. But it's not still over. I don't want it to be in such a way that should, in case there's nothing in this area, it should be counting. We want that it is only when there is data here that it can count, like 2, 3, 4 and going ahead. So we are going to use something beautiful again, which is the if function. We are going to put a little condition, very small condition. So be with me. If this cell is equal to something before we can count, meaning if this cell has information, it is in that case that we can put 1, 2, 3. If not, don't put anything. That's the condition we want to do. So the logical test is if the cell I've chosen, this cell, is different. Now is different. This is what Excel understands. Different from is indicated using the greater sign and the less than sign. This is a greater sign and less than sign. Is different from nothing. Meaning, if this cell is different from nothing, if something is different from nothing, it means that there is something inside, right? Meaning, if there is something inside, what should be done? I put comma. It should count the number of rows and do minus 13. If not, what should happen? It should not do anything. It should allow this area without any data. So if not, empty space, I close my bracket, I put enter, and that's all. So if this area has data, it should count. If not, it should not count anything. You see, here there is nothing, but if I put data, it is going to count as row number 4. If I put data here, it is going to count as row number 8. And you see how beautiful it is when you know how to use Excel functions. From here, we are left with a little calculation here. We want to make it in such a way that when we choose our items, we put the quantities. It should give us this total. We are going to call this total tax exclusive. No, VAT exclusive. VAT is in caps. This is our amount without tax. Here is our VAT. We have to calculate the VAT amount here. So we are going to say equals to, and our VAT amount is estimated to be 19.25. So we are going to do 19.25% of 19.25% of this amount is going to be our VAT amount. And here VAT tax inclusive is going to be equal to the total without VAT plus the total VAT. We press enter, and this is how our informations are going to look like. Very cool, very simple. All is done automatically. If I add something here, you will see it is being calculated automatically. If I delete, so from here we are going to remove these grid lines. We go to view and we uncheck the grid lines. Basically, this is how our invoice is going to look like. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to manage this stock card. The stock card as at, we are going to put the date somewhere around here. To put the date, this stock card should be in such a way that any day we open this Excel workbook, the date at which we are opening the workbook should be specified here. And in order to do that, in order to have a date which is being updated, we are going to use a function today, and we close bracket, and here is the date of today. We are going to arrange it. We'll merge these cells, put it in the middle, and we start by changing the color. We increase the size, and if possible we even change the date format. Okay, this one is more better. Now here are the items and the codes, the initial stock, entry, exit. We really want the informations to be here automatically from our data base in such a way that should in case any item is being added in this list, it should equally be updated here automatically. We'll start by making this area a table. We are going to put it in a considerable, we're going to create a considerable table which can take even up to, let's say, 1000 products. Let's stop here and create a table. No, since it's just an example, let's bring it back. Let's make it to be closer. Okay, let's say just something like this, and we say insert a table. Our table already have headers. We say okay, so this is the table of our stock card, and we want all the data from this place to figure out here, starting from the items. So we are going to say that these items are equal to the data, the informations in the data list, meaning these items. I select these items and I say enter. You see all the elements here are added here. The last element here is local. Let's say I add something new here. Let's say pen. Let's go back to the stock card. You see pen has added here automatically. That's actually what we want. We are going to delete this. To delete something here, you select the row, you right click, then you come on delete row. So we come back to our stock card. We realize that this is a small problem, because in here in this data there is no further information. It is going to show error message here, but we don't want it to be like that. We want to ignore those error messages. So we come on item, we say if error, if there is an error we say nothing. We press enter and automatically we don't have any error message anymore. Actually here the code is the item code here. We are going to use a Vlookup formula to always check on our item codes, or we can still use the same thing we use here to get these items, but we are not going to do that. We are going to use a Vlookup formula. We start by putting our if error, because when you go down it is going to find errors there. So we start with if error. We say Vlookup, we are looking up to this, where precisely in data, in this table 9, and we are looking at the item code, which is column 2, and we want exact answer. We close our bracket, then we conclude the if error, we close our bracket, enter. Automatically is going to appear. The initial stock, we are going to do the same thing here. We are just going to copy this formula and paste it here. Oh sorry, we copy the formula and we just paste it here, but we don't want the item codes to appear. We want the initial stock. Is there anything like initial stock here? Yes, initial stock is in which column? 1 2 3 4 5 6 in column 6. So we come here and we edit this to column 6. Okay, that's what we are going to do for the remaining data, such as the unit purchase price, the unit selling price, and the minimum stock. Since all of them are here, the unit purchase price, unit selling price, and the minimum stock, they are all here. We use the Vlookup formula to make them to appear here automatically. Alright, after bringing all of this data with the use of Vlookup formula, we can calculate now the stock value just by multiplying the amount of stock, the available amount of stock. So we come here, we say equals to this times let's get the stock in value with the unit selling price times this, and that's it. So since there is nothing here, there's no quantity here, so it's going to be 0. So now we want the stock available. Actually, to get our stock available as at this date, we are going to take the initial stock plus entry minus sales minus exit is going to give us the available stock. So we say equals to initial stock minus plus entry minus sales minus exit, and we say enter. It shows that since we already have something like initial stock, it is automatically going to show that our available stock is the initial stock. Remember, all of this data, they are just informations to make this work. If you maybe you're in your organization, you know what is the initial stock, you know what is the minimum stock, and so on. We're forgetting something is happening here, these error values in our calculations. So we come here and we put our if error in order to eliminate those errors which are going to appear there. automatically. So now from here we can try and put all our data in we can try and centralize all our data in the middle this way. Okay, so now we have the entry color, the sales, and the exit, which are going to communicate with these other sheets: the entry of stock, the sales track, and the exit. All of these things are going to work in line with what is going to be in our stock card. So before doing that, we are first of all, before looking at how it's going to function, because actually in this entry exit we need data here inside which can communicate with this stock card and give us the informations about the entries, the exit, and the sales. But we are not yet at that level. We are going to automate this stock card first of all by making the alerts when, for example, the available stock is not is lower than the minimum stock, or it is close to the minimum stock. What should happen? That kind of thing. So let's first of all look at it before we are going to see how to manage this entry, sales, and exits. So how am I going to go about it? Let me start by selecting the whole of this stock card, and the name her is actually table 1, but I will name her stock. I say enter. So I'm going to come here and choose stock. He has chosen the complete sheet, and I'm going to give her a particular color. Let's say something like this. Okay, now I want that if the available stock is less than the minimum stock, the line of that particular item should be red, indicating that the available stock is already less than the minimum stock. And I want it also to be in such a way that if the available stock is greater than the minimum stock by 10, then it's a good sign. It should also show something different. So for that, I am going to select the whole stock card by looking for the name of our stock card. This is going to select the whole stock card. We are going to use a conditional formatting. We come to new. I've actually tried to make this one so easy. So what we are going to do, we are going to write our formula here, equals to, should in case we are going to touch C6, should in case C6 is, we are going to make only the rows to be constant and not the columns. The dollar sign in front of C represents the column, and in front of 6 represents the row. We are going to make these columns, only the columns will be constant and not the row, meaning the rows are going to vary. So we are going to delete the dollar sign here and allow the dollar sign just in front of the column, which is C. So if the row, meaning if this C6 is no, if the value of the stock available, if the stock available is less than the minimum stock, we want a kind of formatting in this area. So if the stock available is less than the minimum stock, we are equally going to delete the dollar sign here. What should happen? We go on formatting, we want to fill with red. We can change the font size, we can put it to be bold, we can change the font size, the font style, sorry, to be white. No, let's say, yes, let's say white, and we say okay. So should in case the stock available is less than the minimum stock, this is how the complete line is going to look like. Let's try that. Okay, can we see it has actually functioned here? Here the stock available is less than the minimum stock. He has given a red line, and we're going to indicate that this red line shows that the minimum stock is actually greater than the stock available. This is not all. We equally want it to be in such a way that if the stock available is greater than the minimum stock by 10, it is a good sign. So we still come on our conditional statements. We create new rule. We take use a formula to determine the cell, to determine which cell to format. We are now going to use which formula. So in case the available stock is greater than the minimum stock by 10, that's what we're actually trying to do. So we say equals to, if minimum stock, we delete the dollar sign in front of the figure. If this is greater than the minimum stock, we delete the dollar sign here. Oh, it has gone. We come to manage it. Let's come back here. Yes, if it is actually greater than the minimum stock plus 10, what should happen? We should have a color which shows good sign. So we are going to put something like this, and here we are going to put the handwriting, the font style in, let's say, white. We say okay. So this is how it's going to look like. So let's press OK. We'll press OK, and we say apply. Actually nothing has happened because up to now there is no available stock which is greater than the minimum stock by 10. Let's just try and enter and say that we'll have an entry of 50 goods. You see, automatically, since the available stock is greater than the minimum stock by 10, already it is going to put the complete line in green, showing that it is good sign. So now if any of this condition does not apply, it shows that we should obviously place an order, and for us to understand how to place an order is going to be this yellow color, whereby the stock available is equal to the minimum stock, or the stock available is equal to the minimum stock but less than 10. Yes, something like that. So if we put just 5 items here, we are still going to be here with this color, showing that we have to place an order. So that is how we are going to manage our alerts here, and we are going to give a key here with time, and that is it. So now let's make this entry, sales, and the exit automatic. So how is it going to function? In our stock entry card, it will be in such a way that we are going to choose the data which is going to be added or which is entering into our stock, and it is automatically going to appear down here continuously showing all of these informations. So we want that this stock card, we want that the stock card should always sum the quantity of goods here in relation to the item, relating to the item in our stock card. So in order to do that, we are going to use the sum if function. So we say equals to sum if. We are going to use the sum if with s at the cell specified by a given set of condition or criteria. So the sum if is going to sum but with a given set of conditions or criteria. So the first element in the sum if function is the sum range. What do we want to sum actually? We come to our stock entry. What we want to sum is the quantity. So for now, let's just choose from here to here. Now the criteria, meaning what do we have as condition? Actually, let's see it here. Actually, this criteria range and criteria, you can put like as many criteria or conditions as you want, but here we're going to use just one condition. We should sum the quantity here. We put comma. If here we are already putting the criteria range, which is the condition, we are summing it. If they're saying the criteria range, if in this stock entry the description, the criteria range to, no, we are at the level of the criteria itself. If the item, the description in our stock entry is equal to the description we have here, that's the only condition we want. We want to sum the quantities if the item is equal to what is here. So when we close it, something like this is going to happen. We have all of this because first of all there's an error here, just because actually there is no data in our stock entry form. So we are going to create a bit of data here in order to see how it can function. I'm going to create data in our stock entry, create data in our stock in our sales track, and equally in our stock exit, in order to show or to understand what is actually going to happen here. So let's say that in our stock entry we have this data, Dell computer HP with these quantities, and in the sales track we have this, and in our exit we have this. So what is actually going to happen here is that, so we are going to start this formula back. We say sum if the sum range, we come to stock entry, we want to sum this range, should in case this data comma is identical to this, we close bracket and we say enter. Actually realize that for PB computer, if we go on sales track, PB computer actually is 20, and should in case this PB computer appears like 5 times with different quantities, it is going to sum all of those quantities. Even if they appear 10,000 times, it's going to sum them. So that is actually why we are using the sum if function here and not the Vlookup. The Vlookup will just go and look up to and choose any of them and look up to it, but the sum if is going to look at PB computer in this list. Even if there are 10,000 PB computers, it is going to sum only their quantities. So that is why we are actually using this. So same thing for the sales. We are going to use this same formula for the sales, and we are going to say equals to sum if we go to sales track. What we want to sum actually is the quantity. We put our comma. This is the data we are looking up to, and we want it to sum if it actually sees what is here in our item list. We close it and we press OK. Actually, the PB computer in our sales track shows only 1, and we can see it here in our stock card to be 1. We do same thing for exit. So from here we see that automatically for any item, the informations of that item is going to be taken from the data sheet. All the entries are going to be cumulated according to the item, the sales the same thing, exit the same thing, giving us stock available as at a particular date, showing our minimum stock, our stock value, and the conditions if actually the stock is lower than the minimum stock and when it is greater than the minimum stock by 10, and that's how it functions. So basically that's all about our stock card. We are going to solve this little problem in such a way that if there's no data here, we don't want anything to appear, so we can do it here and say if C, if yeah in this column is equal to nothing, meaning if there is nothing there, what we should do is that we should put nothing for value if true, meaning if it is true that in this cell there is nothing, we should put nothing, else we should calculate all of this and put something inside. So if it comes and sees something here, it should calculate and put what is required normally. So from here we close our if and we press OK. You see actually it will come and verify if there is nothing here. He has removed, it shows that there is nothing. It's going to allow it empty. So we are going to do same for sales. If actually this man is equal to nothing, then nothing except what is here. We press enter. Oh sorry, forgot to put this. So basically that is how it's going to look like, something less complex, and whereby you just have to add a key for these colors which are here when to place an order. Basically that is it about our stock card and our invoice. So In our next course, we are going to see how to automate invoice. We are going to see how to make our invoice track to appear here. We are going to see how to automate all of these other stuffs in order to ease our work. All these with the use of Visual Basic for application.